Get ready to uncover truths and reality of today's politics. Here's your host, Lori Mills.
Welcome to a special edition of Uncover California. It's election day, folks. We've left it all on the table. I've spent the last 3 weeks canvassing. We've made phone calls. We've had rallies. And we need Donald J. Trump back in office. On today's show, I've got a special guest, someone that's been here before who we love, Siaka Massaquoi. We're going to be bringing him in a moment, but let me go ahead and play one of his latest projects, Jeremy's Razors.
Oh, hey, I'm Jeremy Boring, CEO of Daily Wire and founder of Jeremy's Razors. Woke razor companies love to take your money while trampling on your values. For me, I just love your money.
Cut! What the hell is this?
Hey, nobody calls cut on my set but me.
What, do you run Hollywood now?
Two on the nose.
What is this?
We're filming the commercial for the brand new second generation Jeremy's Razor.
Yeah, I get it. We moved our manufacturing out of China. Plus, with the new Sprint 3 and Precision 5 blades, you can shave like a man, not a manifesto. But who's he?
I'm Black Jeremy, huge fan. You mind if we get a selfie?
Oh yeah, come on.
Look, we talked about this. Customers want diversity. Customers want inclusion. Customers want Black Jeremy.
And for the commercials to be less macho. Can we please lose the flamethrower and the car? It's overcompensating, and we need...
Who are you?
I'm Jessica. I've been following you around half naked for 2 years.
Oh, that makes you some kind of expert on advertising? Besides, don't you think it's a little insulting to black people?
Oh, we prefer people of color.
Don't you think it's a little insulting to black people of color that instead of giving them their own roles to play, you just recast them as a beloved white character?
Hell yeah, it is.
We don't do it for people of color. We do it for liberal white women. I'll spell it out for you. Liberal white women make most of the purchasing decisions for the family, so happy commercials with people of color smiling at each other make them feel hella virtuous.
Bitches love to feel virtuous.
They do.
Mm-hmm.
That's why there's no white people in commercials anymore?
Exactly.
But that's so...
Gay? Sorry, I'm the body positivity hire.
You are so brave.
What is even happening right now?
Think of all the razors you'll sell.
And don't forget Jeremy's shampoo and conditioner.
They are excellent products.
Hey, what if I play your character a little less bitchy?
Unbelievable. Jeremy's Razors isn't for liberal white women. It's for men. Conservative men. So stop giving your money to woke corporations who hate you. Give it to me instead.
Hey, liberal white ladies. You know what's up.
Go to jeremysrazors.com now and buy the new radically redesigned second-gen razors featuring sharper, longer-lasting blades and superior durability. Now in more inclusive 3- and 5-blade models.
Hi, this is James from Roughneck Roast. I'm a lover of coffee, country, and Christ. Like many of you, I'm fearful about the future of America if we don't elect President Trump back in office. That's why when you order coffee from roughneckroasts.com, I donate 20% of all sales to the Trump 2024 campaign so we can fight to make America great again. As a thank you for your support, I'm happy to offer you a discount on coffee orders during this all-important presidential campaign. Get 15% off your coffee order today by using the code CALI, C-A-L-I, at roughneckroasts.com. That's C-A-L-I at roughneckroasts.com. Join the Roughneck Revolution one sip at a time with my proudly American roasted coffees. Together, let's put America's greatest president back in the White House and take back our country. That code again is CALI, C-A-L-I, for 15% off your coffee order at roughneckroasts.com. Thank you, and God bless.
Siaka, welcome back to Uncover California, my friend. We miss you so much here in California. How are things going out there in Tennessee?
Lori, first of all, thank you again for having me. So good to see you as always. And I mean, I miss the people of California, but man, Tennessee is really working for us, and we feel so blessed to be here, to be in this home, and just be with Xavier and have the time with him that we have had. I think it's been amazing. It's been amazing.
Yeah. What are the biggest differences that you've seen?
There are more churches on every corner than there are Starbuckses. So where it's in California, you'll see a Starbucks on almost every corner. Here you see a church on almost every corner. So, and with that, I definitely believe, like people tend to be a lot more friendly, a lot more inviting, a lot more, I guess, inquisitive about you just for your sake. My wife and I, we take the dogs and the baby for a walk every day, and people wave when they drive by. They stop, and neighbors will come out and go, "Hey, how you doing?" They come up and talk to you, and then you get to know each other. And every person, almost every person we've talked to since we've been here, when we the last part of the conversation they have with us, they go, "So, what church you guys go to? You guys found a church yet? What church you go to?" So that's it's really cool. It's really cool to be in a place where people are wearing their belief and their faith in Christ right on their sleeve, and they're being very Christ-like. They're asking if you need any help, like anything at all, like please come. Like football's really big out here, so every pulpit we've been to, except for maybe one, we've heard them all bring up football here. So that's pretty cool. It just has a great sense of community, and I feel so fortunate and so grateful to the Lord to have us here, so Xavier can grow up in that environment. Even though we're missing the Auntie Lori's and Tish and Trish and all these other people that we've met, I think just from an environmental standpoint, he's in a great place, and our family's in a great place.
Well, and people don't understand. You came from North Hollywood, and I remember I'd been to your home a few times, and you now live in a place where your child can go out and ride his bike. When he starts riding a bike, he's got a front yard, he's got a backyard, and he doesn't have a bunch of homeless guys down the street that you got to worry about someone snatching him up. You're not going to have to helicopter him so much. God save California. So, Siaka, it's election night. This election means everything. Everything. What are your predictions on what we might see tonight?
So I have two kind of predictions on how it would move, but ultimately the same ending, which is Trump is going to be the 47th president. Either it's going to be just a landslide in there, it's just too obvious to deny, or power doesn't give up. It doesn't, people don't give up power easily. So I kind of see it as, and I said this on Fox last night, I see it as they're going to try to, as long as possible, elongate the process, but that's going to be to frustrate people like you and myself. And right. I would have implore everyone that watches, be patient. What we have this time is different than 2020. Trump, big time. The RNC, the GOP, they have lawyers lined up, ready to go. They have, people in place, poll watchers in place. They have the infrastructure that they didn't have in 2020. So for the average citizen like myself at one point, where even I went to January 6th because I wanted to see what was going on, I don't think we need to really trust that President Trump is doing this thing and has the full force of the Lord behind him, and he has picked the proper people behind him to fight this thing all the way. It's not just Lori or Siaka who has their future is on the line to a certain extent, of what they see the future of this place can be. But it's like, I think Trump really believes this. He has grandkids, Kennedy, Tulsi Gabbard shifting over. People have made Zachary Levi coming out as, someone high. Like, these aren't small decisions that people make to do. So,
right. Well, one thing Yeah, one thing I've been thinking of is in 2020, you know, we had COVID and they took mass mail-in voting across the country. To this day, I do not believe that Joe Biden ever got 81 million votes. And I don't think they're going to be able to pull off what they did in 2020. They don't have the mass mail-in voting. They have none of that now. So it's going to be very interesting to see if we see how big the steal actually was. That's one thing that I'm curious to see.
That's something I think it's why it's important that everyone, even if you're in a red district or if you're in a blue district where you think like, oh man, my vote doesn't matter. No, we need the popular vote for the mandate. And when you have the mandate going, hey, this RP, you know, we want to do America first. When these things come out, and I do believe that, and this is just off me, no one's told me anything, but I believe from the Diddy tapes to the Epstein list, it's gonna break people who have put a lot of faith in some of these institutions and individuals. And so if we have the mandate, I think that tells those people who may be twisted in knots about this that it's okay. Like the country wants to go in this direction. No one's like, you can let go of that old past, whoever it is, right? Whoever comes out to be people who have really denigrated the culture. You know, when you look at what they've been a part of and you're like, you know, they've really turned this culture upside down, and all of who they are really needs to come out. So I think, yes, people will definitely they'll be messed up after this election with Trump, but moving forward, it's going to make those other blows not as bad. And I just hope that we trust the system, and as Christians, we be there for some people that are going to be messed up. They're going to be really upset.
Well, and I remember 2016 here, they blocked the 101 freeway. They burnt cars, they looted. And then, of course, the Russia hoax came out. And it's funny, they're starting to beat that drum again. Ooh, Russia's starting to interfere in our elections. And I'm like, shut up. Nobody's going to fall for that again after $40 million of a special counsel. One thing that you brought up that I think is great is the unity that we're seeing in our party. Never in my wildest dreams did I think that we would have Democrats cheering on the Cheneys, of all people, the war hawks. You know what I mean? That's their, but the Cheneys like Harris. And it's like, we've got RFK. We've now got Joe Rogan. We now have Elon Musk. And we're looking at this team, Tulsi Gabbard, of Democrats and Republicans, and now even libertarians with Ron Paul joining the Department of Government Efficiency. You got the deep state is panicked. These institutions that have been infiltrated by these globalist scumbags that want to destroy our country. The global compact of migration that the Biden and Harris administration put us into, they will be obliterated. And our cost of living will go down automatically because we're not paying all these freaking bureaucrats to screw up our country. We have such an opportunity. It's insane.
And one of the things that I think people, and it was talked about a little bit from the left, but I think people really missed it, is like Trump's economic plan to move into the tariff society that we were pre-1900. And that's how our government, and it had so much money, didn't know what to do with. And it tells me, man, this idea, we really kind of we're in about 120 years of the secularism that was infesting into our nation. And we have a chance of flipping it around and really going into, as he calls, the second golden age. That, like you said, if you have these energy costs going down, places like California, which used to be the beacon for young people, now, and you've seen it yourself, young people who want to settle down, they can't be here, so they leave. Like my wife. So now there's a chance to revitalize every part of America, just because we start to care about the people again. And I think a lot of these politicians only cared about the bottom dollar and how much they can get, and they sacrificed our needs and our kids' and the future of our country's needs. And now to turn that back on us now, I'm really, it's really exciting to see where we can be, and the fact that people can dream again here. They can dream again in this. think that's very important for our psyche and as a country.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're seeing a promise that, if fulfilled, is going to be amazing for everybody, even for those Biden Harris supporters that have been told that we're Nazis, fascists, all these things. Number one, it's a lie. And number two, I really see this unity party coming together to do good things for all of the people. I personally would like to find the 300,000 in missing migrant children that have been sold into the sex trade and organ harvesting. Hate to say that. We cannot do another 4 years of Kamala Harris, and I am praying to God that nothing goes wrong. But also understand people like Mark Elias and Jamie Raskin, they're already planning not to certify this election. So we have to continue to fight because it's not over. It's not over by a long shot.
No, not by a long shot, but again, I think one thing that made it different this time around is the fact that we have more eyes, like we said earlier, we have more eyes on it. So continue to fight, but fight locally, because that's where you're going to have the best impact. That's where you're going to probably, be able to move the needle in where you are locally. Like, let the people at each level do what they do, right? So let Trump and his people at this level do their thing, and let, Lori Mills over there in Ventura County do her thing. But everywhere in between, that's where we can be more effective. And I think I really see the American people really galvanized to be dutiful citizens again, really, to be involved in the community. And that's just a beautiful thing all the way around. And, with success, as Trump has said, with success will breed even more patriotism and love for this country. And again, everyone's going to win, like you said earlier.
Yeah, and you have to remember back in our history, we once fought over a 2% tax, the Boston Tea Party, and here we are so overtaxed. And in California, it's what they did in 2020 nationwide. This mass mail-in voting is not safe or secure. So in California, we have to fight doubly hard. The only way we get out of this is our assembly races and the state Senate races. And I really pray that the people turn up for that. Now, there's a lot going on, too. There's a lot of lives at stake right now. The Biden administration and Harris administration have really weaponized the government against the American people. You being one of those people. You've got that mother of 5 that she's in jail now, I believe, for 7 years for praying outside of an abortion clinic. Siaka, let everybody know why this election would hinge on your freedom and the other people that have been caught up and politically persecuted for January 6th.
Well, yeah, it's something that I said, in this time frame that's been going on for the last at least 3 to 4 months as it gets closer to election. I'm dealing with, many may know or may not, but I'm dealing with January 6 charges, all misdemeanors, being harassed for 3 years following my 2021 raid, and basically had to go through a no-fly list for those 3 years, followed up by November 30th of 2023. Then they arrested me. Now we've been fighting, and by God's grace and many people's help, we've raised money to help my defense, and we pled not guilty to all charges. And we were supposed to have the court date on October 15th, but that got moved out to January 20th, which is inauguration. And so it's hard. I was saying this to Charlotte, my wife, the other day, how it's really kind of, it's weird to wrap your brain around the United States versus Siaka Massaquoi versus me. It's really.
Why was it your arraignment? I remember.
Yeah. And like to be at a position where literally this vote going one way or the other will decide whether I go to federal prison or not, like that. And I know there's other people, and I'm in my own story, but there's other people who have been through worse, whether it's John Strand, or for it's even there's a lot of guys who are still locked up today who haven't been the same day in court. But I will say, to see this election be set up the way it is, and to know if Trump gets in, they're off your back, but if not, that January
they're coming
20th
for
date,
everybody. I think I even told my husband censorship's going to go through the roof. Just like in 2020, I was banned, completely banned off Facebook, Instagram, Twitter when Jack owned it because I posted Hunter Biden's laptop. Our First Amendment will be gone. Our Sixth Amendment will be gone. And again, they keep pushing your court case out, which tells me that you're having to spend a lot more money than you probably planned on doing. How is the money going? Because I know these attorneys are expensive. I want to make sure that if you do need more funds, that people can donate to you.
Yeah, that's probably been the good news, bad news situation of it being pushed out. It's been pushed out to inauguration, which is great because then you have an opportunity to, again, if Trump wins, then we just kind of throw it away, if you will. But hopefully, the meter's still running for the lawyers, right? So what we had and what we raised before actually would have gotten us through October, but now you have November, December, possibly November, December, going into January. It's coming up. So we do, if people, if they feel led to help, you can go to defendsiaka.com. That's defend, SIAKA.com. And anything helps. It goes a long, long way. And, we are still going out there. We're still reaching out to different organizations and groups that could help. But that's probably the biggest kind of issue that happened with it being pushed out. But I see that as mostly a good thing because it could be Trump, and because that's the week of my birthday. So I feel like God's putting up something really good for that.
And I'll tell you what, God always works in your life. I've seen it since I've known you. God is just, he watches you. He's using you. And I've said it even before you got arrested that time. We were born for such a time as this. And boom, a week later, you got arrested. And for those of you that never saw Siaka's story, if you go back, I think it was over a year ago now, the first time Siaka was on my show, go back and watch that episode because the man really, he didn't do anything. He was nonviolent in the threshold, not even inside, for 71 seconds. And now he's facing multiple years in a federal prison. Other people we've interviewed, people that were on the grass that never went inside. Again, one guy did a year in prison without trial. I have another guy we've tried to have on. He's been in prison for 4 years without trial and has spent 800 days in solitary confinement. That is not justice, and that's not the America I want to live in.
And you saw like Steve Bannon just was released recently, and it's very clear what this is. And I just hope that the proper investigation is done to look and see why they treat it. And they went after, again, from what I've even heard from whistleblower Steve Friend, they teach FBI agents that they don't even do misdemeanors, yet there were 4 of them to arrest me at the tarmac. So they've changed their policy to punish individuals that are in the wrong group thing, so we need the country as we move forward. And I'm not saying this is any type of retribution, but those bad behaviors need to be illuminated and need to be taken seriously. And I think you go through the process, you go through the court system, just like they tried to do to Trump, but it needs to happen. Lori, I know my lifetime, I can only imagine in your lifetime, you keep seeing that they kept robbing from us. They kept lying to us. They kept doing, pushing the envelope for what they can do in our lives, and then nothing would happen. No one is, or less than anyone's, being held accountable. And I just believe that needs to happen if we're ever going to truly get to this American Renaissance. That is very possible. It's very possible. But
I am so sick of hearing the left and Kamala Harris saying Trump's just going to go after his retribution list. You're darn frickin' right, and we should. Russiagate, CNN, who are your experts? John Brennan, James Clapper, Peter Strzok, Andrew McCabe, Andy Weissman, the same guys that did Russiagate, they were never held accountable. They got gigs on MSNBC and CNN, and that's why they've continued the behavior. What I would like to see, and you tell me what you think of this, Siaka, I would like to see every news organization, every channel out there broadcast live true due process and the evidence against each one of these people that basically committed treason in 2020 and have continued that behavior until now. I believe unless we have accountability, they're never going to stop. And I will not be shamed into going after you guys. You guys are traitors to this country, traitors to the American people, and you should be held accountable. And I hold nothing back with that. You should be held accountable. You are the criminals.
Well, and
Your thoughts?
that's what, no, I love the fire, and I do believe that one of the beautiful things about this, and they've already started to frame, they're trying to frame what it's going, trying to tell them like what it's going to look like. Oh, yes, I'm being brought into Congress. That's only because he's going after his political opponent. So they're framing it that way already because it's what's going to happen. But the beautiful thing is and this is, a lot of people sometimes they can say the Republican Party doesn't work as fervently, or maybe they don't do anything, but these investigations are still going on. And so now with Trump coming in, these investigations they've been doing from the money that was the impeachment inquiry, from the money that was coming to Joe Biden, from the border stuff to DOJ stuff. You have all those things happening now. Even though it may look a certain way, it's actually not it's not in Trump's hands. He has nothing to do with it, really. It's going to be them. It's going to be the Congress,
and again, Congress doesn't have the power to prosecute. We need to clean house at the DOJ, the FBI, and the CIA, period. I'm not sure if you saw my show a couple weeks ago with J.J. Carroll. Actually, it was last week. He found out that the Guatemalan prosecutor found out that the NGOs were stealing kids from Guatemala, and he went to sue the NGOs in Texas. And Jill Biden was sitting on the board of Save the Children in Guatemala, and Joe went to Guatemala and said, "Fire the prosecutor, you're not getting the money." Again. These people are evil. They're not going to stop. Siaka, we're already out of time. I can't even believe it.
I know, that's fast. Yeah.
Okay, brother.
You're leaving people on the cliffhanger. Let's get back to it in a couple weeks to see exactly what's going to be coming, because I think accountability is coming in a just way, though. Not in this crazy.
Well, in a transparent way. A transparent way where people actually have a defense attorney, that you see both sides of the story. I actually would like to see every single January 6th case reviewed publicly. And these judges that have violated people's constitutional rights, they should be held accountable as well. That's right, judges. We know who you are. You are criminals.
Speaking on that, I can honestly say this, that the judge that I have, Judge Cobb, she's been excellent. She hasn't been going one way or the other. She's been down the line. So, and I'm not just saying that because she's the judge, but I'm saying that specifically to say that they're not all there. But you're right. The ones that are blindly leaving out evidence that would actually help the little person, they're judges that have a lack of a better term, a focus on getting every MAGA Trump supporter locked down, regardless of anything. And all of them.
And editing the evidence, like in John Strand's case, where he was cheering on the police and they froze the video, wouldn't let the video play, and showed the jury that, he was hostile. No, he was cheering on the police. That all needs to be seen. So tonight's a big night. In Jesus' name, Lord, keep your hand upon our country and President Trump. Help us to get it back. And I do want you back in a couple weeks, Siaka, in order to update everybody on what's going on. Lord, we need you in this race. We need you in this country. I pray for just a mighty work of your Spirit. And for those people that are disappointed with the outcome, when Trump wins, I pray that you would take their blinders off in Jesus' name.
Amen. Yeah,
Amen.
Lori. Awesome.
Yeah.
So good. So good to talk
Tish
to you.
is yelling in the other room. Okay, so
Fight,
one more
fight.
time. Fight. So, Siaka, one more time. Tell people where they can donate to you. Guys, remember, he's fighting the DOJ. They've tried very hard to get him to do a plea deal, and he's refusing to do so. We need to have his back. $5, $10, $25. If you're a whale, frickin' fund his whole defense, because his case can take this whole Department of Justice down. Siaka, one more time.
And we still haven't even heard yet about the 3 dismissal motions we made, which would have to push one way or the other. But again, if you go to defend Siaka SIAKA.com, you can donate there, and you can actually lead prayers too, which is really, really awesome. So thank you again.
Cool.
Thank you, Lori. I appreciate being here.
Okay, love you, brother.
Love you too.
Okay, everybody, stay tuned. We are going to have part 2 of Edward Badalian's segment that he filmed last week on his January 6th defense.
Welcome to the MAGA Mall. We have the largest selection of the finest quality MAGA caps and Trump caps that are made. We have over 250 hats and 1,000 different products in 28 product categories. All the caps are made from premium cotton twill. Everything on them is embroidered. As a matter of fact, in the last election cycle, we donated over 45,000 caps to Trump-endorsed candidates and conservative causes all the way across America. And you can buy any of our products by going to our website. It's at themagamall.com, like on the sign over here, and use promo code CALI, and that's for Uncover California. That will get you a 10% discount off of all of our products and also help this worthy cause. And remember, it's always a MAGA day at the MAGA Mall.
Welcome back to part 2 of our interview with Edward Badalian, January 6th defendant.
So when I got told that I was being arrested, they allowed me to turn myself in, but it was like at the U.S. Marshals lockup in downtown L.A. And it's actually like an unmarked building. It looks like a black CIA black site or something, but there's like a prison inside. It was very, very creepy. But so they chained me up, like they do a belly chain, so you're like stuck like this
to your ankles.
Yeah, and then your ankles are chained up, and then they chained me to a wall too, like a dog or something, and inside this tiny little room with a monitor, and then the magistrate judge came on the screen, and that's a different judge. That wasn't the DC judge. It's like a local judge to decide my bail, and then the prosecution says like, oh, you know, he was violent against another rioter, and therefore he shouldn't get bail.
Pulling Antifa off a window.
Right. Instead of saying, like, giving me credit for that, they're trying to use that against me too. Like, they're psychotic. And the judge laughed at them. He's like, what? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So he gave me bail. So I was able to fight my case from the outside. But they still put you through a lot of torture to do that. Like, they make you fly back and forth at your own expense and put ankle monitor on me. At trial, it felt like we were winning, like we had the momentum in front of Amy Berman Jackson. I chose to do a bench trial instead of a jury trial because, you know, the juries in D.C. are like 90% Democrat. I knew I didn't have a chance. So I thought,
I think they have like 100% conviction rate, which is unheard of.
Yeah, I think like 97%.
Yeah, it's unheard of.
Yeah.
Which tells you it's rigged.
Absolutely, because they actually have a high rate of losing their appeals too.
Right.
Once it gets in front of someone objective, that's not part of their little scam.
And that's part of your Sixth Amendment is having a jury of your peers, meaning they can't all be Democrat.
Right.
They can't all be Democrat. And in all honesty, they should move the venue.
Yeah.
It should be outside of D.C. because, sorry, this swamp is corrupt. Okay, so you're before the magistrate and...
He granted me bail, so I was able to fight the case, you know, from the streets, but it was in front of Amy Berman Jackson, the actual D.C. judge, and she is like a partisan. She's appointed by Obama. So
probably a Soros judge, like so many that we've seen.
And another interesting thing about her is she's actually the one who gave Bill Clinton immunity for the Clinton Sox case when he stole classified documents. She wrote that opinion about the president has full power over classified documents.
Presidential Records Act.
Exactly, and then
Donald Trump didn't get that.
Of course not.
Yeah, he got raided.
Yeah, it's crazy how I call it a 3-tier justice system. Like for us. Patriots, they'll throw the book at you and like Tina Peters or those abortion clinic protesters, the peaceful protesters, and us, we get like 10, 15, 20 years, like crazy amount of time for nothing, for doing legal things. And then the second tier is like they're Antifa activists, they're useful idiots. To keep up appearances, they'll charge them, but like a slap on the wrist. Yeah.
$50.
Yeah. 90 days probation or stuff like that. Like when my buddy Johnny Miranda got stabbed at the LA City Hall protest, Eric Cohen, the Antifa guy that stabbed him, trans, by the way, also, at first he was charged with attempted murder, and then they reduced the charges to assault with a deadly weapon, and I think only got like 90 days in jail or something like that. But yeah, so that's just an example. Or like the example you brought up earlier about the Chaz Chop Zone and Enrique Tarrio. So at the Chaz Chop Zone, Antifa guy, with an AR-15, like the AR-15 is this evil gun, right?
It's my favorite gun.
Yeah, he shot and killed this innocent black kid, Horace Lorenzo Anderson Jr., who had accidentally crashed into their barrier, and Antifa shot and killed him. And that guy only got 14 years. But Enrique Tarrio gets 22 years, and he wasn't even at the Capitol. He wasn't even there, just because
I think he sent a tweet and said, do what you need to do.
Right.
And what was before that, who knows?
Yeah, that doesn't deserve any time, let alone 22 years. So it's like disgusting.
That's his First Amendment to say that.
Right.
Like if he was saying something like, go in there, take over the Congress, do this, do that, go. Yeah, exactly. Ray Epps. And he got a slap on the wrist.
Slap on the wrist. Oh, we're charging him too. Yeah, BS. Yeah. You're not really punishing him the way you're punishing us. But so the third tier is if you're like Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, like the high up Democrats that are the very like useful to the globalist puppets, they don't get charged at all. Like,
right. Well, we've got this, I've talked about it several times on the show. We have this invisible fourth branch of government that seems to have more power than the people that are in elected office.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And the scary thing about that is I really think that a lot of these people are controlled by these puppet masters, whether it's over blackmail or whether it's over they've taken money. It's corrupt. And that's one of the reasons I can't wait for Donald Trump to get back in office and Elon Musk to go be the Department of Government Efficiency and get rid of the bureaucrats.
Idea. Yeah, exactly. That is the biggest problem is the bureaucrats and the corporate like banksters lobbyists that run them. They go around our elected officials that have no power over them, unless you're like a Donald Trump or a Thomas Massey that's like willing to stand up to them.
Yeah.
And then they attack you and try to destroy you. Well, they don't have anything
on him. Like I'm a firm believer. There's a lot of politicians on these Diddy tapes, and I believe there's a lot of politicians on these Epstein tapes. Yep. And I say release it all.
Absolutely.
Release it all and take them down. It's time for transparency in this country. But I want to get back to your case.
Yeah.
Because you and I have a feeling we could talk about a whole bunch of stuff.
For hours, yeah.
Yes. Okay, so your case, you stand before the magistrate, you start fighting your case.
Yeah.
And did you have to go to D.C. to fight your case?
Back and forth like 4 times. So,
okay, did you have a good attorney or?
He was good, but he is a California attorney, Robert Helfand. He's very smart. He's very good at trial, like with trial tactics and whatnot. But he wasn't part of the little DC, group of insider group,
Right.
So he.
Well, again, I think all of these cases. I think after Donald Trump gets back in office, cases should be reviewed out of DC.
Yeah.
And if we've seen any prosecutorial. How do you even say that?
You said it right the first time.
Prosecutorial misconduct, those people should be held accountable.
For sure.
Like judges should lose their judgeships. Attorneys that have hid Brady evidence should lose their law licenses. Just like the attorneys that were fighting against the election fraud, the Biden DOJ has gone after every one of those attorneys just for looking into fraud.
Right.
John Eastman.
It's just insanity.
Sidney Powell, Rudy Giuliani, looking what they've done to this man who was America's mayor is disgusting.
Yes.
And so the rules for me, not for me, and Lady Justice with her blindfold off, holding the scales like this, it needs to change or we're not going to have a country.
Yeah, because if you had justice in a balanced way, like a non-biased way, you would charge Hillary Clinton. You would go after these corrupt people and that is
Andrew Weissman, Peter Strzok, Andrew McCabe would not be experts at CNN and MSNBC.
Right. They should be
Those are
arrested,
the people that the left is listening to, and it's like, no wonder they're so brainwashed. Your experts are John Brennan and James Clapper, the guys that set up Trump for Russiagate. Those are their experts, and they knowingly lie to the public.
And people say, like, oh, Trump is threatening to go after the free press. But actually, if you look at the FCC's rules for having a license, you're not allowed to alter the news.
Oh, but they've been lying to the public for years.
Right. So they should have their licenses revoked.
Yeah, they should.
Yeah.
And that's why people like me, who honestly, I'm not trained at this, I just have conversations with people, are doing what I'm doing. Because we have to get the truth out. And unfortunately, we can't get it from the mainstream media.
I always say that.
I will guarantee you, the mainstream media would never have you on. They don't want to hear your story.
They did. Ryan Riley.
They want you to be a narrative.
The guy on Twitter, the sedition hunters, I call them sedition lovers because they love sedition of the left. But anyway, so Ryan Riley, he interviewed me. He tried
Who's
to do
he with?
NBC.
Oh, really?
So
okay.
He tried to do an ambush style interview after my trial.
It's the Stasi struggle session.
But I think I made some pretty good points, and he couldn't frame me the way he wanted, and so they never wanted to talk to me again after that.
Of course not,
because they can't make me look like a buffoon or whatever, and make Trump supporters look bad.
Well, and that's what I see in most of the interviews that they do. They look for just somebody to say the most off the cuff thing, and then they edit and chop it and make it look the way they want it to look.
Exactly. So like the election fraud piece of it, when I was on the stand, the prosecutors asked me about it, and then Ryan asked me about it too. And I go back to the 51 intelligence agents that signed a letter
that lied,
that said
that should go to jail.
Absolutely. That the Russian laptop, that the Biden laptop was had all the hallmarks of a Russian disinformation operation. That's 100% lie. And the person who actually organized those guys to sign that letter is Anthony Blinken, who's now the I think Secretary of State, right?
Right.
So he got his reward for helping Biden get in. But if you look at the exit polls, the Media Research Center exit polls and some other ones, I think it was 10 to 15% of the Biden voters would not have voted for him if they knew that the Hunter Biden laptop was real.
Yeah, but let's be real. They had the steal going. They were pushing the mass mail-in voting. They were bringing in ballots after the fact.
Yes.
Even to this day, we have Soros-funded judges saying, no, illegal aliens can stay on the voter rolls. What the hell is wrong with this country right now?
Yeah.
Victory's not an option. We have to win.
So if you look at what Rudy Giuliani's work and all those lawsuits and stuff.
There were thousands of affidavits.
Yes. I think the total was 1.2 million votes that were cast or counted under provisions that were not approved by state legislatures.
Right.
And that is, again, more than enough for the margin of victory. Plus, all the people that didn't know how corrupt Biden was, that's another 8 to 16 million votes. But if you, let's say you assume that those people would have still voted for Biden, and it was only 1% of that, it would still be 80,000 to 160,000 votes, which was way bigger than the margin of error.
Right.
And that's assuming that the polls are off by 100.
And again, guys, too big to rig. You need to talk to your neighbors. You need to go to your local party and tell them you want a record of Republicans that are low propensity voters and go knock on their door. Nobody sits out this election. Back to your case.
No, for sure.
So yeah,
that is the biggest thing is we got to get out to vote efforts because we are the majority.
Yeah.
We just the left has their election machine is
the Mark
more
Elias,
advanced.
the freaking evil freaking attorney that does everything from Russiagate to these elections and everything else. Evil guy. I think that he should pay a price someday. He shouldn't have a law license.
They should all be investigated at the very minimum.
100%.
Because what they used against us, even if they couldn't get the charges to stick, is the process is the punishment.
Yeah, because they'll bankrupt you. They'll destroy your family. They will smear your name. They will make you lose your job. They will come for you. And that's, again, why I think 90% of the people have taken a plea deal, because it's almost unwinnable.
Right.
So,
but I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I fought
I'm
the case.
glad that you didn't too.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Siaka's doing the same thing. He will not take the plea, and they're trying to get him to take it badly.
They were offering me such a bad plea too. They said we'll only take off one of the felonies, and then I went into trial and I fought it, and I beat that charge anyway.
Okay, so let's get to all of this because we're jumping around. Okay, so you go to the magistrate. That you start fighting your case. Go to court. Tell me, and let's try to make this shorter because I want to get to what happened to you after all this.
So the judge disallowed us to talk about the intel that the FBI had, and disallowed us to talk about undercover people in the crowd. And she allowed
violation of your Brady rights.
Yes. And she allowed the prosecution to talk about anything that they wanted. So they brought in officers that had no contact with me, and they could talk about the pipe bomb and stuff. Like,
although
completely irrelevant.
But the pipe bombs, they're not even talking about that.
Because it's fake, yeah.
And they're not even talking about the fact that Kamala Harris was at the DNC. She wasn't at the Capitol.
Right.
Even the corrupt J6 committee, another crime. They wiped their phones after the committee so nobody can look at their evidence again.
Yep. Because the real stuff came out, and they didn't want them to corroborate what the actual stuff is with.
They didn't put Ashley
BS.
Babbitt's death in their report.
Of course not.
They didn't put Roseanne Boylan's death in their report. And the Democrats staged an in-Capitol funeral for Brian Switnick, God rest his soul, who did not die at the Capitol as they said he did.
The reason he had a stroke, if you look at the coroner's report, I'm pretty sure. I think it's because of the pepper spray and the tear gas that they were launching, that the police were launching, and he. See,
I heard it was natural causes. It was a blood clot.
Right, but that could be caused by the basically poison that they put in there, because it irritates your lungs, so it causes inflammation, and that could spiral into something that killed him. So it was like they killed their own officer. Really, we didn't kill him.
But the way that the Democrat Congress used that for a narrative, if I was a family member of his, I would have not put up with that crap at all.
Yeah,
they politicize everything. So back to your case. You go to court. You fight it.
So even despite the bias that was going on, I felt like we were winning. And then the judge, she goes, I was hoping she would do the verdict that day, on the last day of trial, but she didn't. She's like, I'm going to take 2 weeks to make my decision. And I was like, oh no, this is going to be bad. Someone's going to get in her ear and tell her, like, you have to find them guilty. And sure enough, when the verdict time came around, her personality was completely different, because throughout the trial, she was annoyed with the prosecution because they were saying a bunch of irrelevant stuff.
Well, again, I think a lot of these people are compromised.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden she's against us, and she's like screaming at my lawyer, Mr. Helfand, I can't believe it's disgusting that you would imply that the pepper spray was not that bad for the officers, and he never did. My lawyer never said anything to that to downplay what was happening to the officers. It was just
Did you have pepper spray?
No, I didn't have anything.
Okay, so you're not party to that anyway, so that's irrelevant.
So much irrelevant stuff. Like, they had a stack of telegram messages like this big, a binder full. Not a single one said that let's go to the Capitol building. Not one. And they just brought
again, there were permitted rallies at the Capitol that day, and from my understanding, people got funneled to the area where the breach happened.
Basically, yeah, because what's supposed to happen in a big march like that, the police are supposed to route the crowd around wherever they're marching, and then like back to where they started, like in a safe manner.
Right, but there was no one there because they rejected the National Guard.
Exactly, thanks to the Pelosi.
Okay, so she's going off on your attorney about the pepper spray and everything else, and what happened?
And
she finds you.
She finds me guilty of the conspiracy to obstruct the official proceeding, and then she gets to the obstruction of justice charge. And I can tell she still wants to find me guilty of that too, even though it was so egregious and wrong. Because they were trying to say that I went to Gina's house to tell her to delete videos, which never happened. And when she testified, she couldn't say that I did. She couldn't lie the way they wanted to. So she's like, I guess I can't find you guilty of this.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah. And so,
oh, woe is me. I want to find you guilty. What the hell's wrong with these judges?
And then she found me guilty of the misdemeanor
like, if you
trespassing.
If you did wrong, I would be like, let him serve his time for what he did. Mm-hmm. I just think so many people got sucked into a situation that went wrong real fast.
Entrapment. It's entrapment.
It is entrapment. Okay, so how much time did you get?
So she sentenced me 2 months later at the sentencing. She sentenced me to 51 months, plus 100 hours of community service, 3 years probation, $2,000 fine, to the architect of the Capitol, even though I defended the building. I didn't break anything. I stopped people from breaking stuff, and they still fined me for the damages, which is insane. And then she remanded me straight from the courtroom. Like we thought I was going to have time to turn myself into the jail because I'm nonviolent, first-time offender. But I argued with her. So she got to the point when I was on the stand. She's like, Mr. Badalian, you had these text messages that you were threatening you had violent rhetoric against the police. And I was like, Your Honor, I'm sorry, but that's not true. What you're saying is not true. I didn't have any text messages that were encouraging violence against the police. And she started screaming again. She's like, Mr. Helfand, are you going to shut him up or should I? And I'm like, and he didn't say anything.
Well, good for you because you have that on record now.
Yeah. And he didn't stop me because he knew I was right. And he's like, and I'm like, look, Your Honor, it's true that I got frustrated with the police at the Capitol because of what they were doing, and I flipped them off like, oh, big deal, you know. But I didn't encourage violence against them ever. And she just kept yelling, and then so I stopped talking. But and then she's like, I'm sending you straight to jail, you know. It's called remanding, and so that's when I went to the DC Gulag.
How long were you there?
So for a month.
Okay.
Yeah. And I didn't know about the drama that was going on in the DC, like in the J6 community, until I went there, and that's a whole nother story, like about Jake Lang and his.
I've talked to Jake. Jake actually is supposed to have been on this show.
Yeah. And
every time that we schedule him to come on, he gets thrown into solitary confinement.
Yeah, one of the times that happened was he and I got in a scuffle because he does very shady things.
Does he?
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't know him.
But I know. I would stay away from him because the vast majority of the J6 community knows that he's like a lying grifter.
Okay, I just
but I
don't
could talk about that for like another hour, so I don't know if we have time to get into it.
I just don't like the fact that they've held him this long without trial, and I don't agree with putting someone in solitary confinement for 800 days.
But I think he's been avoiding trial on purpose because he gets a lot of money from basically lying about what happened, what he did. Because he says he rendered aid to Roseanne Boylan, and he did not.
Oh, I heard he did.
No, because we played the video like frame by frame for him, in front of him on the evidence laptops, and we're like, look, dude, you never touched her. Justin Winchell, who is actually rendering aid to her, you see Jake reach down, and Justin swats Jake's hand away, and he never makes contact with Roseanne's body.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and then so when he was caught in that lie...
What about Philip Anderson?
He pulled Philip Anderson away, and then you don't see him near the tunnel again after that.
Okay.
And so when we confronted him with that, he's like, okay, guys, like, she didn't die in my arms. She died in all of our arms. Like trying to, bring everyone else into his little grift. But we're like, no, she didn't die in all of our arms. She died in the arms of Justin Winchell and then Ron Maccabee, who you should be apologizing to, Sheriff Ron Maccabee, because he tried to render aid to her as well, and it was too late. She didn't die in all of our arms. Like, just stop lying, dude. But that's just one of the many things that he did that was just so disgusting. Like one time, because he was like a self-appointed leader of the pod, and like religious leader. He like referred to us as his flock and stuff. But he actually was kicked out of the Bible study because no one trusted him. But I told him one time, because I was trying to be friends with him, I was trying to mend relations between the sides, and I didn't know how bad it was until more stuff started coming out.
So you go into jail and there's drama.
Yeah.
It's like high school.
Exactly.
Oh, God, that's terrible. But you started a vodcast there.
Exactly. So eventually we had this idea, me and John Mellis of wearegoodmen.com. So just a quick side note, people like Jake and Cynthia Hughes, they take all the money for themselves and then they dole it out to people that are their friends. And they actually keep the majority of it. Whereas the way John did the fundraising for people, he plugged people's individual give, send, goes. So the money went straight to them. He didn't get the money and then decide who to give it to. But anyway, so we started a podcast out of the jail called We Are Good Men Podcast. You can find it on Rumble, or you can go to my Twitter, Edward Badalian, or John's Twitter, John Mellis, and you can see there's links to it there. And there was evidence laptops, like I mentioned earlier, they had cameras on them. And they didn't disable the camera function on the laptops, and so we asked some of the CEOs that were cooler with us and we were like, can we record a show on these laptops? And they let us, and so we interviewed people like David Dempsey and Matthew Kroll and Reed Christensen. Like Reed Christensen is an elderly man. He wouldn't harm a fly. He's very intelligent. He wrote a book called Save the Kid, where it's like, if a kid was in front of a bus, wouldn't you sacrifice your life to save it? And comparing America to the kid. So, and when I saw him, like how he was being treated, like put in prison as this innocent elderly man, it just made me so angry. Like,
yeah, that's not right.
Yeah, it's disgusting. And so you can see interviews of these guys, like how they came into politics, how their experience was at January 6th, and then what was done to them after. So that, and we're continuing the podcast now that we're out as well.
Okay, so we're coming to a hard break.
Yeah.
So tell everybody where they can find you and what you're facing now.
Okay. Yeah.
I had to think how I was going to phrase that for a second. I'm like,
so the Supreme Court.
But we got to do it pretty quick.
Okay, so the Supreme Court overturned my charges, and I was let free. But now the government is threatening to charge me again.
Oh, the weaponized Biden DOJ.
In case if Kamala wins, basically they're going to charge me again with 2 more felonies. But if Trump wins, they're not, because it's a waste of time. But so you can find me at Edward Badalian on Twitter.
Do you want to spell that?
Yeah, well, it's Edward Badalian. If you just look it up on Twitter,
Badalian.
Yeah, you'll see the one with the verified check mark. That's me. And you could also go to We Are Good Men on Rumble and check out our podcast. It's really cool. Actually, when we were singing the national anthem in the jail, you can hear that in the podcast. We get interrupted, and we go and I record it so you can see the patriots, doing the national anthem while we're being persecuted. We never gave up on our patriotism. So. And I encourage people to not give up, to not let this persecution of J6ers and political prisoners to dissuade you from fighting back and speaking out. And we should fight back even harder, like double down on your efforts and go even harder for your beliefs.
I'm never backing down, and I'm never shutting up. Anyways,
yeah.
You guys, thank you so much for coming on, Edward.
Thank you, Lori. This was awesome.
Awesome. Okay, everybody. We will see you next week. We are out of time. Make sure to follow me on X at Lori Mills, the number 4 CA42. And please follow our Rumble channel. Without you, we cannot grow. Uncover Cali on Rumble. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.